sweet. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Girls Podcast. Welcome one and all to the competitions episode of the Law Student Podcast. So I'm Dee, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Anna Stirling, who is our current negotiations champion, and Jasmyn Daley, who is our current Director of Competitions for the Law Society. So guys, why don't we introduce ourselves, Jasmyn?
So I'm Jasmyn, and I'm the competitions director at Girls here. So I organise all of the competitions that you guys probably will notice around our Facebook page. And I'm a law and criminology student at Griffith Nathan here. And a fun fact about myself is I play netball in my spare time.
Anna?
So I'm Anna, and I study law and government and international relations. I'm in my 4th year here at Nathan. For me, a fun fact is that I have actually never eaten KFC, and I've been to over 20 countries.
I think the KFC thing's...
Yeah, we're going to have to go back to that first one.
Anyway, that's it. Awesome. Okay, sweet. So guys, today we're going to talk about the why, what, who, when, how, why of competitions at uni. So, firstly, I think everyone knows that they probably should do comps for one reason or another, but they're probably too embarrassed or too nervous to sign up, and then that certainly was me in my first year. Or perhaps they think everyone knows what they're doing and everyone's, like QC and waiting and they're going to kill it. I think those nerves are completely unfounded. I think everyone stuffs up.
100%.
Heaps of stories of people stuffing up, myself included. For example, one moot I did, I completely forgot my legal argument halfway through a question by the judge, and I just argued. It was about a boat, and I had my castle moment, and I just started thinking, Your Honour, well, it was a boat, it floated, therefore the contract was satisfied, and the judge is looking at me with a half smile, half like, are you serious? So that certainly didn't go well that time, but regardless, I think it's important to highlight that everyone stuffs up, and it's the norm rather than the exception.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Anna, you got a funny story?
So for my first ever moot, my partner couldn't make my moot, so I had to moot by myself against a team of 2. So that was pretty scary, but it actually was fine. I enjoyed it in the end.
How did you go with what? So you stood up, made your first submission, stood down, stood up, made your second submission.
Actually, in the end, they only made me do my side, which was good.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so
Oh, that's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Any other funny stories?
Once for client negotiation, just the factual scenario was just so strange. So our client was really paranoid and had asked us to refer to our client's love for haggis and to get the other side to personally agree in writing that Duchess is not a weird name to name your dog. Just weird things like that the client wanted us to do. So that was very awkward, but so that was a funny situation to try and act out.
Client interview is so hard. There's so many funny stories from that. One time I had a client who was like a Hollywood superstar in theory, and the facts hinted at the fact that she was cheating, and it was a defamation case. So you had to basically ask her if she was cheating without asking her if she was cheating. So you had to very skirt around the fact, which was definitely interesting. I think it caught a lot of people up. But anyway, so Jasmyn, broadly speaking, so imagine I'm a first year, I just walked into uni, never been on campus before, never studied law before. What are competitions?
Yeah, so basically we run 4 different types of competitions. So you'll probably be familiar with, I guess, the mooting scenario from Suits. The first sort of competition we run is moots. And they're kind of a non-accessible extracurricular way to practice your legal skills. Same with negotiation, witness examination, and some of the other ones we run. Competitions are academic, and they're sort of more personal than, the things you're assessed with. They're non-assessed, and you aren't with real clients, so you're not in this high-stakes scenario actually testing a proper client. It's sort of fake volunteer clients that you get to sort of test out your legal skills. There's no real repercussions if, you struggle with any of the problems. It's just a fun way to get to know sort of legal scenarios. And a bonus is that the winner gets bragging rights. So you can walk around the law school and tell everyone that you won the competition.
Exactly. I think the beauty about competitions is a lot of people come to law school, maybe I'll fess up here. I came to law school because I wanted to have my Daniel Caffey and a Few Good Men moment, you know.
Yeah.
What's the line, you know? You can't handle the truth, da 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 da. And the further along you get in your degree, the less likely you are to, the more likely you are to realise that probably isn't possible in your career.
Yeah.
Whereas mooting, it's no stakes, not assessed, they're not real clients, they're not paying money to be there. So you can really just have fun with it. I think go back to not real advocacy, because it's actually fake, but real, you know, having those moving moments.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and some of the questions that you get given are completely like crazy scenarios that, like, you know, even like a QC probably's never experienced before. So you get to argue these really obscure situations, and it's just like a whole lot of fun, really.
Yeah, exactly. And if you mess it up, no one cares. You're not gonna have a client or a judge pull you into a room and you know, yell at you or whatever. You know, if you stuff it up, it's probably gonna be a funny story that you could, you know, tell your friends. So Jasmyn, from my understanding, there are 4 different types of competition. Could you explain for our lovely listeners what those different 4 are?
Yeah, so I think I touched on it a bit before, but one of our first competitions is mooting. So this is sort of similar to a mock trial. So like you might see in Suits, how they get up in court and they have these little like trials. It's like that. But there's 2 competitors on each side. So you'll be working in teams of 2, and you'll kind of like, one side will be like the plaintiff or the prosecution. The other side will be the defense. And they'll both present their arguments, and then you'll sort of counter the other side. So you'll present an argument, they'll present an argument, and then you'll counter, and then they'll counter. And it's all, and then during that scenario, you also get to answer questions from the judge, and it's sort of like, I guess, this really cool, like, mock sort of scenario. So we also have client interview, and this is sort of where you're interviewing a pretend client. So you get to act like you're a lawyer for the day. You get to sit in a room and you get to try and draw certain information out of your client. So like, you want to sit there and talk to them and try and get the full whole truth out of them. And this can be really fun. And even if you don't want to compete in client interview, you can also volunteer to be the client. So you can sit there and you can, like, you know, act out the scenario. You get to really embody the person that's the client, and that's a whole lot of fun. So our third competition is witness examination, and this is very similar to Suits as well. So like, you get up in court, you get to sit there, you question a witness, and then you get to cross-examine the other side's witness. So you work as a team just by yourself, and you get up and you get to question them, you get to ask them questions, try and get the information out of them. You know, you want things to look the best for your client.
Have a few good men moments.
Yeah, witness examination is definitely a fun one. And like client interview, you can also be a volunteer witness. So you get to sit on the stand and you get to, like, pretend like you're that person, and while you get cross-examined by the competitors.
I've had a witness pretend to cry before. So you can really get into it,
Yeah, you get to really get into it.
Get the bowl of water and just...
Yeah, 100%. It's so much fun. And you get to see the competitors. You get to see what they do. So first year you can go on, you can be a witness. And then next year you can go on and actually compete. You've experienced the competition before. Yes, that's a really good way to get into things if you're still a bit nervous. And finally, we have negotiations. So this is kind of like, I guess, you're sitting in a room and you're trying to have like an alternate resolution. So you don't want to go into court. You kind of want to, I guess, seal a deal that's best for your client. So you're negotiating with the other team, trying to get the best situation for your client. But yeah, that's all of our internal competitions.
So yeah, you mentioned internal competitions. So while our beautiful listeners at home may understand that girls run their own competitions, they might not know what external comps are. Could you explain that to them, Jo?
Yeah. So we kind of have 2 different types of external comps. So if you go on and win one of our internal competitions, so say you win open negotiation, junior negotiation, you can then go on to either ALSA or Quilk, depending on what type of competition you went in, which we'll discuss a bit later. But if you go on to ALSA, that's the Australian law, I guess, competitions. So you're versing people from all around Australia, and it's sort of, I guess, you have that chance to go and a bit further upwards and really compete with like the best of the best. And Quilk's similar. It's sort of just within the Brisbane area, but we had Quilk participants. They're also the people who've won junior competitions, and they compete against like UQ, QUT, those sorts of things. And then we also have other external competitions. So, off the top of my head, we've got like the women's moot. Can you guys think of any other ones?
IHL moot.
Yeah, the
It's
IHL.
like a contracts law one.
Yeah, so there's a few other external competitions that are run by other universities, and you always have the chance to sign up to those. So yeah, there's lots of different competitions on offer.
So Anna,
Mhm.
so you are our reigning champion, but obviously you've competed in quite a few competitions now. Can you give us a brief overview of your history?
Sure. So in my first year, I did junior neg negotiation, junior client interview. Second year, did junior WIDX opens neg, and then last year did the Cook client interview competition, and then this year did the opens negotiation one. So the thing is, like when I first went, like none of us had any idea what we were doing. So like just my recommendation is to just give it a go, because we all have imposter syndrome and we all think that we don't know what to do. But honestly, like the only way you can learn is by doing it, and then you get feedback. Like feedback is one of my favorite parts. So like, I know I made heaps of mistakes. Please tell me how I can improve. And that's why I recommend actually going to the opens finals, because then you get to learn from their feedback, and that means you don't need to make those mistakes yourself as well. But yeah, so a lot, like actually the first 4 comps I did, I didn't win anything, and I just kept on going and and then finally got to win something, which was really nice.
Got to win something. What exactly have you won?
Sure. So last year, Josh and I won the Queensland Intervarsity Law competition for the client interview.
It's a pretty big achievement.
Thanks.
I might mention that she beat us actually. So not dirty about that at all.
Still here. And then this year, Dennis and I won the opens negotiation comp for girls.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any other sort of highlights from that? Highlights from your time there? I know in Quilg, the finals, not devastated at all about not winning. You participated in the Supreme Court rooms? Where were they held?
Yeah, so the final was held at the Supreme Court of Queensland, and so we had some good professionals in the industry judging that, which was really nice. Some highlights have really been also just friendships, because most of these competitions you need a partner for them, so you can form friendships, and then I've gotten to know the girls' officers as well, and just you actually, even though you're competing with people, you actually become good friends with your competitors. So that's how I've made some of my good friends at law school. So that's been really good, and then winning Cook was really surreal as well, because I never thought I even had a shot at a state comp. I thought, let's just give it a try, and Josh did really well because it was his first time ever doing client as well. Just have a go.
So guys, I remember, and I'm sure you both do as well, back in my first year I was told by someone who's probably in our positions now actually, he'd come down to your first year lecturer and he'd say, look guys, you're going to regret not doing competitions in your later years.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Definitely.
Even at the time I was like, oh, what does he know? I don't want to do competitions, blah, blah, blah. So why do we think competitions are so important for a young budding lawyer?
There's so many reasons, really. Like, you're getting up and you're doing public speaking to an extent. You're, practicing all these new skills. It's great for boosting your confidence. Like, eventually you're going to graduate. You're going to go into the legal profession. You're directly sort of dealing with these types of scenarios. And, yeah, it's really good for your confidence. It also boosts your knowledge in the area of the law. Like, you've done contract law, but then you're working on a contract law problem for the moot, and it's like you're revising all those concepts again. Did you guys have anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, nowadays, if you want to get employed at a firm, it's just not enough to have good grades. You have to have extracurricular involvement, and this experience is actually so key, because it can help you get an internship maybe, and then that can help you get a job as well. They love to see that you've been involved in comps.
Yeah. I think there's a really good reason for that, because I think generally speaking, law school doesn't teach you everything you need to practice, and I think these competitions, while they are a lot of fun and they're not being, no one takes themselves seriously and X, Y, and Z, they do generally give you some really great skills, especially client interview. I've found, speaking from my own experience, I've actually really used the skills I've got in client interview. Sitting down and being kind and nice and maybe funny, but also being professional, I think is a skill in client interview that is really important, and that's something that helps you so much in practice. And negotiation, like we don't do negotiation in our undergrad. It's not one of the priestly 11. But if you talk to a practicing barrister or solicitor, especially in the commercial space, for example, they'll say it's everything. It's like 90% of their job. And the fact that we don't do that at uni, but so why would we do it in a fun, non-assessed environment? And of course, here at Griffith, we have our contracts.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you did the moot beforehand, you're completely prepared for that.
I remember me and my friend hadn't done the moot before, and it's not that it makes it any harder per se, but definitely people who have mooted before, done the junior moot, say, have definitely got a foot up.
Yeah, you're so familiar with like standing in that room and arguing sort of your point across, so you get to the contracts 2 minutes, it's already pretty familiar.
And I think it's important to point out that it is never too early to start. We do
No.
have junior comps for a reason.
Yeah, no, you can be, first year, first trimester, and you can go straight into competing.
And yeah, I think it's just great fun generally. Just a good way to spend your weekend. Some moots, some of the external moots are a lot of work. But at the same time, some of the external moots you can go to Vienna or Hong Kong or Vietnam or anywhere. So like,
yeah, shout out to the Vismood there. You can go to Vienna or Hong Kong.
I want to go, but COVID. Anyway, that's another story for another time. But anyway, so Jasmyn, can you outline us for our young budding first years or second years or third years or fourth years or maybe even fifth years who want to listen to this and they go, I really want to do a podcast. I really want to do a competition
Do a
now.
podcast.
What's coming up? What can they have a go at?
Yeah, so we've started our open comps, but we still have a few grand finals you can come watch. So at the end of week 10, so this current trimester, we have our client interview finals, and they're going to be sponsored by Leo Cussin, one of the PLT firms that's starting up, having an office at Griffith. And yeah, they're sponsoring this event. So it's going to be really great. You can come along, you can meet the judges, you can see our competitors and actually watch some of our open, bit more experienced students, watch them compete. We also have our moot finals May 19th. And yeah, they're also really good to watch, especially if you want to compete in the junior competitions in trimester 2. You can watch the moot finals, so you have a really good idea of what these students who've gone through the preliminary rounds have sort of done and what's going to be like for you.
So keep an eye out on the Gulls social media platforms for the dates for those events and for the dates next trimester when the juniors open. Yeah,
so all our junior comps are going to be held in trimester 2. The dates are still to be confirmed with those, but like Dean said, they'll all be posted on our Gulls Facebook page. And how can they access that Facebook page, Dean?
They can Google, Facebook, Griffith University Law Society, or facebook.com/Griffith University LS, or Girls on Instagram, or Girls on LinkedIn.
Or come into our wonderful Girls office and chat to one of the committee members.
Yeah, or just hit up Jasmyn and just ask her.
Send me an email.
Yeah, send her an email. What's comps@girls.org?
Competitions@girls.org.
Exactly.
Yeah, but seriously, feel free to ask us questions. We're so happy to help.
Oh yeah,
you.
definitely.
If you want to just know how to do a client interview or something, just feel free to reach out.
I think that is a very important file to dead on too, because if you say come up to someone who's done it before, and even if they've done well, even if they've crashed and burnt, either way, you're still going to learn off something if you talk to them for 10 minutes. Because they might have, for example, if you came up to me, I'd go, mate, do some research before you go into client interview. They're going to tell you don't have to, but do some research, even if it's 10 minutes. But anyway, that's a point for another day. Thank you so much both for coming on the podcast, and thank you so much for listening. And see you next time on the Law Student Podcast.